Órale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. Familia, this is a round table. We'll kind of, more of a triangle a little bit, but it's every reason, cada razón to be giving us a like and subscribe over here on Familia FFB on YouTube, on the YouTube page Familia. You know what? This NFL Insider Series, we're taking a little break on that. We are down to the final four on that. The Kansas City Chiefs I dropped that a couple hours ago. So hopefully you've already watched that, and now you're ready to watch this, and you're not sick of my face. But the thing is, I bring on great guests to help me out. So make sure you're giving us a like and subscribe, because you get great content like you're going to get tonight. And also make sure you're going to underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code Familia23, Familia23 if you want to use it in Spanish. You're going to get matched up to the first $100. So you put in $100, they're going to match you $100, and then you're going to get and then you're going to be able to best ball draft all the way up to September 7th. And what happens on September 7th? Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions are going to be kicking off the season, and you're going to be watching all your money come in after all those fantasy drafts that you did. So, Familia, this is an episode that we made the little joke to compare this to Harry Potter. This is like the dark arts of fantasy football. It's 0 RB. So some of you don't have the stomach for it, but I have a feeling that by the time we're done with this episode, this is going to sound a little bit appetizing. It's going to be plenty appetizing for you, because you know what, joining me are two of my buen amigos who are in the fantasy industry. Two people that have gotten so much love, so much amor from, and been on shows with me several times. And this is going to be fun. Leading off, it's buen amigo Kevin Tompkins. Fantasy Alarm, lightning round. It's been great. The lightning round. This is closing in. Yeah, Kevin, you joined me in 2022, and now all of a sudden I've got all the lightning round people on there. So mi amigo, make sure you're following Kevin on Twitter, Tompkins II. So el dos, Kevin, bienvenido, my friend. ¿Cómo estás?
Great, Jorge. Thank you so much for having me on here again, having to come back on here. Always a pleasure. Got to bring the Expos love, as we already have on one of our draft streams earlier on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. So again, we're amongst friends. Let's ready to talk about the dark arts, the Voldemort, so to speak.
He who shall not be named.
Yes.
He
I already cursed it. You might as well just go all the way in.
I swear. I mean, it's. I love this. I love this episode. But oh well. I'm gonna also make sure I gotta welcome in our other buen amigo. He flies like an eagle. He's wearing the colors right there. I call him Eagle Dan, but you guys know him on Twitter at Dan Turner FF. Coming from the great state of New Jersey, mi amigo Dan Turner. Welcome in.
Gracias, hermano. ¿Cómo estás? It's great being here. I feel like this is like the fourth or fifth time I've come here to talk about the dark arts. So this is old hat for me. I'm really excited to talk with you, and happy to have Kevin here to mix it up and talk about the elephant in the room. So I'm ready to get started.
And the elephant in the room, and it's something that is. Oh, wait a second. Let's say hello to a couple people in the chat. Dame Overboard. Oh, mi amiga, welcome in. And Alberto. Oh, by the way, I also wanted Alberto, mi amigo. Oh, thank you guys. You're always here to bring the love, and thank you. And Dane, please say hello to Scampers. Tell him he's late. But but he wasn't late when it came to sniping me in Scott Fishbowl, mis amigos. So Dan, you and I have been in the same chat at the 101 for Scott Fishbowl draft, and I know I kind of haven't. You called your shot where you were gonna go. Did you end up going that way? And please announce it.
Yes. I went with Jalen Hurts because I'm a super homer. and that's why I didn't take Patrick Mahomes. But no, I think I think Hurts is going to take another step up this year at the 101. I think he's going to he got a new offensive coordinator in Brian Johnson. But I think with the rushing and with the scoring how it is this year with no negative points, I think he's going to be a great value. But it was a little bit of a homer pick. I can't lie about that.
I don't mind it. Kevin, where did you draft?
I was at 106 in the Minneapolis live draft. So I ended up taking Justin Jefferson, which I was actually very surprised I did not get the Minnesota tax on Justin Jefferson with somebody taking him before me. Actually, I really, really wanted Lamar Jackson at the 106 and then kind of build from there. But went Jefferson, Watson. I actually took a running back for the first time in like the last 3 seasons in Scott Fishbowl, taking Tony Pollard. So very different build than in years past.
Wow. What prompted that?
Pollard's my
RB3. Going to get running back?
Pollard's my RB3 this season, so I am very bullish on him as far as obviously I feel like if they were going to get Zeke Elliott, they would have already picked him up or picked somebody up. There's still time to do it, but I just really like the receiving rushing aspect, knowing that Dallas isn't going to have to put everything on Dak Prescott, and clearly the Tony Pollard is going to be like the 1A, 1B, and almost 1C of that running game. So definitely into the volume, definitely into the receiving aspect. I think he can put together at least a 21, 22 point per game fantasy point season. So definitely excited about Tony Pollard. And I built out 5 straight wide receivers after Tony Pollard. So I did stay on brand, but at least I had an anchor this year.
I hear you on that. Yeah. Stay. I was gonna say I was gonna check you for smelling salts there, just to make sure it was you were okay having taken a running back. But you know what? There was that. Now, did you get to pick your spot, or did you did you end up picking the spot, or was it?
Yeah, I picked. Yeah, I had 106. I had 106 last year too, and I took Burrow. But I've never taken anything but a quarterback. This is actually the first Scott Fishbowl out of 5 that I've taken a position that wasn't quarterback in the first round. So I wanted to see kind of how that would flow through, and I like the build, except for the fact that my QB2 is still to be announced because I took Watson. I didn't like any of the prices for the quarterbacks. So I guess one could say I got locked out, but hey, I'm 100 fab. There's going to be quarterbacks available before Watson's bye week. So we'll see. But right now, my QB2 and 3 are Will Levis and Taylor Heineke.
Oh, okay. So
I'm putting a wide receiver in the flex.
Well, there you go. Staying back on brand on that one. So that's a good one there. So looking at that, getting back to Scott Fishbowl, anything you guys saw that happened there that kind of threw you off?
Really, honestly, just the tight end. A lot of the tight end value was kind of ludicrous to me. I mean, I understand the emphasis on a lot of the tight end premium and everything like that, but it's almost like different drafts within a draft because Kelsey was going to go, top 3 at least, and then you have Andrews, Hawkinson. I took 3 tight ends in the 11th, 12th, and 13th, who I feel like I can still get pretty good scoring with every week. I took Juwan Johnson, Trey McBride, Mike Gesicki all in a row, and those are the only 3 tight ends I have. So I'm totally fine with those guys not having paid a premium price. I just did not like any of the prices, and I was going to be very sensitive with that and quarterback, which is why I didn't take a second quarterback, but I wanted to make sure that at least have a positional value or positional advantage at wide receiver, and then being able to compete with running back squads with Tony Pollard. Ended up grabbing Zach Charbonnet, Jamal Williams, Jeff Wilson. So I think I'm pretty fine there too. So it's really just making up for quarterback. And if I have to make it up for tight end, there's always options that come by. Tight ends outside the top 15, at least one of them is finished, in the top, 7 or 8 almost every single year, going back to like Waller, Mark Andrews, Robert Tonyan. So there's always going to be options.
Yeah, and if you play the waiver wire well enough, you're gonna end up grabbing some. Maybe you grab this year's Chigokonkwo or something like that, who helps at the end. Dan, did you see anything plenty loco in yours?
Not really. The quarterbacks went pretty pretty quickly, but that was to be expected. There's some good tight end value going to round 5. I was surprised I got some really good wide receiver values like really late in the draft. I got John Dotson around 10. You had Brandon Cooks, Jordan Addison, George Pickens. They're all around 10. Or Jameson Williams, Juju. I also got Tony Pollard in the fourth round, which was really exciting for me.
Wow.
As my RB2. Yeah, as my RB2. So that was definitely the surprise for me in the draft that he lasted as long as he did there until round 4.
I don't know you guys. I just
So we're on the wrong
today,
show. I know.
So today we got some news on Joe Burrow, calf strain. I was worried it might have been an Achilles. Thankfully, it was on the opposite leg from where he had the ACL surgery. How much would bad news have hurt your Jamar Chase value, Dan? Where can you start on that one? Because I believe he's your 101, right?
Yeah, he is. It would have dropped him down a couple of spots. It wouldn't have been like a complete wipeout of his value because I still think that Trevor Siemian would have been able to target him early and often, but definitely would have dropped him a couple of spots for me below like Jefferson and a couple of others, but it wouldn't have been like a panic button type thing.
How about you, Kevin?
I mean, I see it kind of, I can see them reacting now because, with Burrow likely not going to be playing in the preseason, I would think if they're just going to hold him out completely.
I don't think so anymore.
I don't think Burrow's going to be playing in there. So I think you're going to see a lot of Simeon and whoever, but you still could get a discount now on Chase. You could see him going, Cooper Kupp going ahead of him, even Tyreek going ahead of him, because people love the knee-jerk reaction, especially on underdog. It is a pretty efficient ADP, and then going into, redraft and season long, people react almost even more to injuries or potential injuries. They want that safety, which we talk about ZRB. Safety doesn't exist with really any position, but especially running backs. But we're talking about the totality of the offense. Burrow's going to slip probably below Fields. He might be in that Trevor Lawrence tier now that we've got, at least in the interim. I think he can come back up as we're going to get some good reports on him with that, injury. And then T. Higgins could fall, maybe into the DK Metcalf, further into the third round, or we could see him go into the tier with like Keenan Allen, Murray Cooper, et cetera. So I think this Burrow injury stinks, and we're not going to see him in the preseason, but I think it represents a buying opportunity for his pass catchers too. I mean, I don't think we have to worry really about, Tyler Boyd's going low enough, Irv Smith's going low enough. Joe Mixon is still a kind of a mid-4th round pick. But the higher guys, I think you can certainly see the most reaction to even if they slide down a little bit, I think it's still a really good opportunity to at least get these guys below cost.
Yeah, especially, I think somewhere back there you get a T. Higgins jersey. So, he's going to be, I think he could be on a discount. He could be on a sale. When it comes to, before we get into the zero RB thing, which I love that you guys are coming on with this. Dan, this is, I think, the third time we've talked about this on this show, but
fourth.
at least the third. But any other storylines that you guys are following, Kevin? Is there any storyline that you're following going into now that training camp is in its first couple days?
Yeah, I mean, for me, being a Packer fan, it's easy to kind of look at Jordan Love, where we'll see how he does. He's reportedly going to get a lot of run in the preseason, and I think even the preseason, knowing that there's not much real skin in the game, but just seeing how he's going to do against soft defenses, seeing him go against soft coverages. If he's struggling in the preseason to even complete passes or, get in a rhythm, I'm going to be concerned going into the season. So that's kind of where I'm leaning toward. I mean, I know Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, all those guys have met numerous times together. I think Jordan Love has actually put a lot of that together with Aaron Jones to get the offensive skill position players together on the same page, which is great. And they've said all the right things. Jordan Love has said all the right things. But at the end of the day, the dude has 83 pass attempts in 3 years. It's 4 years now. So I mean, at some point you got to see the guy play, and now we're going to finally get that opportunity. And I'm going to be concerned if Jordan Love is not at least looking like he belongs.
I hear you. How about you, Dan? Any storyline you're following? You're keeping an eye on?
Rookies, rookies, especially Bijan Robinson, Jordan Addison. A couple of these guys that had question marks maybe coming into the draft and see how they're doing. I think I saw a video today of a Falcons practice where Bijan was running around. He was covered, and just reading the comments, it was all gloom and doom. So it's overreaction season now. Draft season's over. It's now time for if someone has a bad rep in practice, they're a bust now, and you should cut them immediately. But definitely seeing how how the rookies, especially like the later round rookies, and for me personally, how the new defensive additions, like Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Carter for the Eagles are going to be able to do.
I hear you. All the Georgia North defense that is coming on there. Yeah. So Dan, I'm gonna start 0 RB. What made you change to it, and about when?
Okay, so it's been a couple of years now. So the last time I drafted a running back in the first round, he ended up getting hurt. I forget who it was at this point. So I got angry and just decided not to draft a running back in the first round ever again. And it just kind of has been leading more towards that way. With the pretty much extinction of the quote unquote belt cow back from the league. It's really hard to find someone that's going to return that kind of value that you need to return in the first round in order to pick them. I mean, probably like Christian McCaffrey this year, and maybe Derrick Henry, but it just got much more valuable, especially with running back injuries and running back committees, to grab a receiver, or even Travis Kelce in the first round. That injuries can hit anybody, but receivers as a whole ended up being healthier the last couple of years than running backs had. So I didn't want to end up losing my league in the first round, so I decided to just hit other targets first and then wait and grab some pass catching backs later on.
How about you, Kevin? What made you change?
A lot of it really was, the kind of the company I keep, so to speak. So, I've had a RotoViz subscription for a while. I know a lot of smart people. Sean Siegel, the Godfather, is your RB. Josh Hermsmeyer, when he wrote there, did a lot of studies about injury rates among the top 24 ADP. With their injury rates, and they're about 200% more likely, running backs are, to have a serious injury, which is 4 or more weeks missed. So looking at that, and then looking at just how wide receiver scoring has gone versus running back scoring, wide receivers have been pretty much the best pick to make in most rounds, at least 1 through about 6 or 7. So looking at that, looking at the injury risk, knowing that the top scoring running backs are the guys that are playing every single game, like Austin Eckler, all these other guys. So when I'm looking at that, how can I make this an edge for myself? Draft a bunch of wide receivers, being able to get a positional advantage at tight end, being able to get a positional advantage at quarterback. And then, I can MacGyver my way a running back room. And we're looking at, running backs that have been fantastic, in the later rounds. Like, look at Jamal Williams last year. Look at, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson. I mean, these aren't guys that you have to have for a full season. You can pick up guys for a week or two, and they'll get you. Like, Latavius Murray was left for dead, and he was pretty good at the end of the season. Even Marlon Mack and with pass catching upside, like, you can find running backs pretty much. Tyler Algier was a damn near league winner last year. So was Rachaad White. So, you can find running backs, and if I don't have to pay a premium for them, but I'm still getting massive scoring from my wide receivers, my top 4 wide receivers all scoring over 17 fantasy points per game, like, that's just it's a winning formula.
No, I hear you. How has it evolved for you, Kevin?
I mean, it's really evolved because of the ADP landscape. Like, this year in particular is very different from years before, because the running backs are getting pushed down, and that's actually eliminated a lot of the running back dead zone, to where we would be taking a guy like Alexander Madison in like the 4th round in previous year. Be taking a guy like you wouldn't be able to find a James Conner in the 6th or 7th round, in previous years. Those guys would be pumped up. So the fact that you could find that profile of running back where you could pretty much cement James Conner for a 3-down role right now if they don't go out and get one of the free agent running backs or, something happens, it's a huge coup. So I think being able to employ a 0 RB strategy, and then anchor RB has been very popular as well. Being able to take one of those running backs that you feel can provide the 2019 Christian McCaffrey upside, or even something close. We know running back scoring, especially at the top, has gone down precipitously. With Jonathan Taylor and then now Austin Eckler, I think they both average about 21 fantasy points per game, which, we're looking at like Dalvin Cook, look at Alvin Kamara, the previous 2 years, averaging about 23, 24, 25. So we know with the extinction, as Dan said, of the bell cow running back, we're seeing more opportunities for committee backs, which leads to more ambiguous backfields, which leads to ADP going down for these guys and wide receivers getting pushed up. So it's really just a kind of an ebb and flow. It's really a lot of push-pull this year than in previous years, but you can still employ it and you can still, have that advantage, even if you do end up selecting a running back in maybe the 3rd round.
How about you, Dan? How's it evolved for you?
That was a great answer.
Yeah, it was. I could go to the next question if you want.
I mean, I really can't add a lot more to that, honestly. I mean, he just said it like I'm just sitting back and just listening to him myself. I mean, he pretty much said it perfect. I really can't add anything else to what he said.
Well, I mean, kind of one of the things, Kevin, that you talked about, everything it seems like ADP is catching up this year, especially an underdog where, receivers are pushed way to the front. I'm seeing Jonathan Taylor, who was the consensus 101 last year, pushed into the 2nd round, and not like at the 12-13 turn, but like 4 or 5 picks into it. But does it, Dan, does it feel like people are starting to catch up, or at least maybe even start to go more hero RB than just bang, bang, running back?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, having this conversation with you, like even 2 years ago, it was still, 0 RB was like the bad word among fantasy circles. But now even with the evolution of hero RB, which I think is a decent strategy if you want to go that way. It's people see, and Kevin said it perfectly, that with ADP, the running backs are being pushed down. You have these handful of guys that are going to score you, 17 plus points a game, and then the rest you can just piece together. And you have these wide receivers that as the league has moved towards more passing, that it can fantasy can now support multiple receivers on multiple teams scoring a high amount of points for you. So I mean, I think it's come to the point where it's pretty much slapped everyone, put in everyone's faces that going running back now, unless you have that guy that you think is going to score like the McCaffrey, and that's about it. It's much greatly improve your chances of winning to diversify your draft set to get 1 or 2 high scoring receivers that are going to get you 15 plus points locked in every week, and then later on grab a running back that's gonna score more for you, like a Jamal Williams last year who scored or a Damian Pierce or someone that I like last year. Those later round guys that they won't get you the heights that maybe McCaffrey will, but it'll get you those 11, 12, 13 points a week that you need, in those spots that you can get those boom weeks somewhere else.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, Kevin, doesn't it feel like, get like one of the cheat codes is, by waiting is maybe you kind of hit on some of the rookies. Dan mentioned, Damian Pierce. You talked about Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I mean, the rookies are as far as bets to make in fantasy, I mean, it's more of the best ROI bets that you can make in a draft because the rookies are just pushed down because of the uncertainty behind them. So you're looking at, I mean, just look at last year. We were taking, Kenneth Walker, Rashad Penny, and now we're seeing that pretty much again with Kenneth Walker, and now on the other side, Zach Charbonnet. and I'm taking a lot of four of my first, I think 6 players are rookies in my exposures on Underdog. JSN, Jordan Addison, Zach Charbonnet, top 3, and Laporta. Because I think, and people want to talk about rookie tight ends, and Andrew Cooper made a great tweet about this today about how you can't just judge an entire position off of what happened in the past. It's different profiles with Sam Laporta, the opportunity that he has, and they can kind of lump Dalton Kincaid into that too, because I think he was the subject of what he was tweeting about. You can't look at Eric Ebron and then extrapolate that to 2023. You can't. So the fact that these prices are so good on these elite tight ends, kind of lend themselves. And then, you're getting JSN in the 5th round, you're getting Jordan Addison in the 6th round, and then you can get Quentin Johnston. You can get all these guys. And then even Jahmyr Gibbs, like the profile of Jahmyr Gibbs, you'd have to spend an early 2nd round pick on that typically with how running backs go. Because remember, 10 years ago, 11 running backs we've taken in the 1st round, and then you take it Antonio Brown or Calvin Johnson or whatever the case may be. Now the RB 8 is going at the 2-3 turn. That's Derrick Henry. So it's just absolutely wild. Even just in a short time period where these running backs are obviously pushed down to where they were even 10 years ago. So I think it just even these rookies, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. I mean, we've seen Bijan Robinson, this profile with like Zeke Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Saquon Barkley, where they haven't played it down, but they're still obviously pretty locked into volume. You know what you can get out of these guys. I mean, I would say Clyde Edwards-Helaire is pretty much an outlier in this case because of the archetype of running back he is. Really, a lot of people drafted him because, he can catch passes from Patrick Mahomes on the Chiefs. That's why a lot of people are drafting him at 107 like 3 years ago. So, it's the rookies are the best ROI, I feel, and I will load up on them as long as the price is right.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to find out about early round strategy. So I've heard you guys touch on, obviously you're hammering the wide receiver, but are you going elite tight end? Are you going elite quarterback? Are you going elite quarterback and tight end in that group? What, Kevin, I'm going to ask you is there something you're looking to do, like, let's say in the first 4 rounds?
I'm looking to get the best prices available on elite talent. Like if I have to take a running back, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, certainly in the format, if I'm in a full PPR format, I mean, obviously that's going to change the game because that brings Austin Eckler into the middle of the 1st round.
Right.
It still brings Bijan in there, Christian McCaffrey. So I think you kind of have to still be fluid. And that's the one thing about when people talk about zero RB is that they think that you're already going into the draft knowing that you are going to do it. Like you are set 100% on doing that no matter what the run out of the draft board is. And it's a tool. It's a tool in your toolbox is what, if you have to bring it out to use it, great. But it's not something that I'm dead set on doing. I have taken so many hyper fragile teams where I've taken Eckler, Derrick Henry, Breece Hall. I mean, it's just the way the draft works. Ooh. And then I will hammer wide receiver after. And then tight end is very easy this year to wait later. So is quarterback. I mean, the fact that you can still get a Jared Goff or a Geno Smith later, or even an Aaron Rodgers, a Derek Carr, or if you want to take an upside stab on maybe taking a safer guy in a Kirk Cousins and then taking a Kenny Pickett later. Like quarterback is very easy to kind of patch together this year and specifically. Same with tight end, where you can still get maybe you take an upside stab on a Dalton Kincaid, but you can also come back with Mike Gesicki. Like you can really just kind of take volume at tight end, which is great because you can take running backs if you want, or you can just hammer wide receivers. And the best part about with the running backs being pushed down is you can still get profiles a little bit later, like an Alexander Madison, who right now he doesn't have the greatest profile as far as what you want, because I do think he can lose his job either mid-season if he's not effective. But I do kind of look at guys like Cam Akers, who I think should be out there and in an improved offense, where I think the Rams are going kind of underrated in terms of their perception, where they just think it's going to be at like the end of last year when they're running out Brandon Powell and Ben Skoranek. Like that's not what's going to happen this year. Like we're not playing 2022 fantasy football in 2023. So, I mean, I think there's certainly value, but you still have to be fluid.
No, I hear you. How about you, Dan? What are you hammering in the early rounds?
Probably receiver again, but Kevin made a great point where in earlier years I would just go receiver just for the sake of going receiver and like locking into zero RB. Now it's uh, a point where I can be more fluid, like, especially in Scott Fishbowl in the second round when I took Nick Chubb. I had going in, I was going to go zero RB, but the value was there where I took a running back where I normally wouldn't. So I think, and he made a great point earlier in the show where you can load up an RB, but you have someone like James Conner who's going to be on a bad team with a court. I mean, Kyler Murray probably isn't going to start. It's probably going to be Colt McCoy. They're going to be handing off a lot. He's a three down back. You can get in the sixth, seventh round. So there's going to be plenty of darts to throw later on. If this year, I think with people have kind of latched onto how good Travis Kelce really is and the disparity he brings to tight end scoring. So if you feel like going tight end first round and you're in like the middle of the first round and the elite receivers are gone, maybe take a chance on Travis Kelce and get that advantage for the year. But there are definitely some great later options at tight end and QB and even a running back where you can go and get those wide receivers early, and that's what I expect to do this year.
Because that's one of the things that I'll divulge something. I did do a zero RB build in my most recent startup, my most recent dynasty startup, which was a year ago. I did it this year for some reason. I only took orphans, and but no, on that dynasty startup, and it was super flex, and I went Jefferson and Kelce in the first two picks. And that team's stacked. That team is stacked. I mean, I need Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff to be good for me this year. But that was the thing, to be able to get the elite talent. I like that. I like what you guys are saying about going elite at the tight end. I would. Have you gone elite quarterback? I mean, I'm talking about, paying up in the second, in the, maybe at the 2-3, somewhere in the late second, early third, and grabbing for a Mahomes, a Kelce, a Mahomes, a Hurts, an Allen. Who would, are you guys either inclined for that?
I mean, probably not, just because there are good options later on, and it's not like a position at tight end where there's such a disparity between tight end 1 and tight end, like say 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get past like the first 3 or 4 quarterbacks, it's all really much clumped together where they're only separated by maybe 2 or 3 points per game, and that I can load up at other places to make up that difference elsewhere, and then take the quarterbacks later on.
Yeah, and I'm fine with taking lead quarterback. It's not my favorite thing to do. Like, I prefer, some of the options later. Like, I'll take a Justin Herbert, I'll take a Justin Fields, where I'm still getting outs to being the QB1 overall, but I don't have to pay the super premium price. Where in the first 2 rounds, I'm totally happy taking, because my preferred spot to draft this year is like 104, 105, because I'm getting either Cooper Kupp or Tyreek Hill. And then I could still take either a falling running back, like a Jonathan Taylor if he gets there, or I could take a Chris Olave or Devonta Smith, who I have a lot of. And then I can maybe take that running back in round 3, or take a quarterback, because sometimes they fall too in the 3rd round. So it's really a change, because 101, you want to be able to lock yourself into like the Jeffersons and Chase. But 101, you can get really locked out at wide receiver and at running back. And if you get locked out in the wide receiver tier too, because if like T Higgins goes, then you are in like almost no man's land with like a DK Metcalf, who I think is going to be fine this year. And I think he's getting a lot of hate just because now Jackson Smith and Jigba plays there too. And they're going to have to probably go more 11 personnel to account for, now they're going to have 3 elite wide receivers there and a pretty good passing game. But it's still a pretty big teardrop from after you get Olave and Higgins to DK Metcalf, who is almost in a tier by himself before you get to the Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, that tier, and Debo, that tier wide receiver.
Yeah, that one, that to me is, I've noticed that it really feels kind of, it kind of gives me a little bit of a pit in the stomach when I'm seeing there where it's DK. It's like, oh, I'd love to wait on and get DK in the next round or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that to me is one of the things when it comes to that 2-3, that 2-3 turn, yeah, if you end up going 101 and you're getting a Jefferson or a Chase, yeah, it almost behooves you to take a running back there in this at the 2-3 turn,
and
at
almost
least
a
one of them.
quarterback too, an unstacked
Yeah.
one.
Oh man, yeah, because you're not gonna. Yeah, a couple times. I will say, a couple of my early drafts, I to see what the team looked like, and it wasn't bad. I did get a couple underdog teams where I got Kelsey and Mahomes 1-2, just to see what it looked like, and I really had to I really had to like go heavy on receiver. In fact, I think I did 0 RB builds on those. So yeah, that to me is important. So I want to find out, you know are there certain so you talked about the circumstances when you take a quarterback, I mean a running back early, because it falls, but is there an ideal round to pick a running back first? Kevin, I'll throw that one to you first.
I mean, it's really kind of it's based on your settings. So if you're going like quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, tight end, and like 2 flexes, I'm trying to beat everybody else to the flex with wide receivers. Like that's what I'm going to try to do. But I'm also very fluid in the way that if there's a running back that shouldn't be out there, I'm going to take a detour and take that running back and then go back to doing 1-1 and 2. I want to make sure because that there's a big wide receiver tier, like in totality, when you're talking about like once you get to like the Cortland Sutton, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers kind of range of wide receivers, I want as many of those wide receivers as I can get, because that drop off that goes from there to like Juju Smith-Schuster and Odell Beckham, and it gets so disgusting where I don't want to touch any of the Jacoby Myers. I don't want to touch any of those guys at their ADP. I would much rather have the next tier of like the Rashee Rices and the Romeo Dobbs and that tier of wide, and Alec Pierce, like those tier of wide receivers I'd much rather have than that gross. And that's usually where I'm taking running backs in that gross wide receiver tier as well. But yeah, to really answer the question, I want a running back, but I want it at my price. And if there's one that's kind of sticking out to me on the board, like if Cam Akers just is randomly out there, or like a James Conner or a DeAndre Swift, like I have no problem taking them and then going back to the wide receivers. But all in all, I'm trying to beat my league to the flex by not only having enough to fill all of the spots, but I'll draft bench wide receivers over that because I want to be able to account for projection error, my own injuries. The chaos of the NFL season, it doesn't exclude anybody. So I want to be able to make sure that when you guys are putting in your, fifth string running backs on your starting running backs bye week, I can still beat you with 15 fantasy point per game players.
Oh man! So Dan, before I throw that question to you, I'm gonna tell the audience that last Friday you and I were in a mock draft with Joey Wright and Jay Felicio with the Front Yard Fantasy guys, and I noticed, and I called you out on that in the chat, that you waited till the 8th round, and my I was getting lightheaded, seeing what it looked like, but I ended up liking your team. I mean, at that point, I think that was 2 running backs, 3 receivers. I think you had filled all your flex, and I think you might have even gone to a bench spot in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Kevin and I have the same kind of philosophy on this, and I showed out with in that mock draft where I'm just going to continuously take receivers as long as I feel like there are good options available in that upper to mid tier, because they're going to score consistent points, going back to pretty much the theme of the whole strategy. And then maybe if a tight end drops that I like, I'll go there. But to answer the question, I'm probably looking around like round 6 or round 7 before I grab my first one. I'd rather load up on a receivers and see if any value drops at either tight end or quarterback I can pick up, and then worry about running back. Because I mean, again, Kevin said it perfectly. If I can load up in receivers and my 3 wide receiver spots and my 2 flex spots beat your spots any given week,
Right.
that really improves my chances of winning.
No, I hear you on that. And shout out to Mr. Scampers in the chat, wishing us a beautiful evening. Beautiful evening to you. It's been about
Campers.
3 days since he sniped me in Scott Fishbowl. I don't know if you guys know, but we were in the same LA Live draft. I was at the 101, he was the 102. So yes, I have met the official Mr. Scampers. So
Nice.
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah, and it was good. As good a guy, and as Cooter Doodles said, we don't know if his beard is longer or than Bryce Young is tall. So there's one long beard. Mr. Scampers is one tall cat, but and it's definitely a tall beard. But yes, yes. What did it say? Yeah, running backs aren't even real. So
They're a construct. Well, I just want to, and we'll say this too, to go with the wide receiver point. If you're out flanking everybody else at wide receiver, it's less things you have to get right with your running backs. Like, you don't have to hit a top end outcome with a running back that you drafted in the 12th round, because you already have that firepower at wide receiver. So you can, at least, as long as you get like a baseline, that's the key to really to zero RB, is if you just get wide receiver right with the amount that you're taking, it's less that you have to get right with the quarterback, tight end, and running back. If you got your tight end right and your quarterback, or one of, you're lapping the field.
I hear, yeah, and you're giving yourself more opportunities to be right on the wide receiver, and that to me, I mean, I will admit, even though I'm still a hero RB guy who dabbles in the dark arts, I do it because I've always been a wide receiver fan. I mean, some of my favorite players, Eric Dickerson, Earl Campbell, are running backs, but I've also, Big Jerry. My first championship was taking Jerry Rice in the first round 30 years ago. So, and then grabbing Steve Young like in the third round, and that was a hell of a stack. I love stacking. So, speaking of stacking, so I got a question. Superflex, with the gain in popularity in Superflex, do you change the zero RB strategy much at all, Dan? I'm going to throw that one to you first.
In terms of running backs, no, not at all. In fact, it actually probably works more in zero running backs favor, because the added emphasis on quarterback means they're going to be pushed up more, which means that running backs are going to be pushed down even more than they usually are in regular drafts. So actually it ends up benefiting the zero running back drafters more in Superflex than it otherwise would.
I think you're right, because I think there's chaos. There's more chaos in drafts in Superflex, and running backs do get pushed down. So I think you can get value. And just, Kevin, before I let you answer that one, yeah, Taysom Hill is the true zero RB pick. Yes,
he was great. I mean, last year, especially an underdog. Yeah.
Oh, huge. But yeah, for Superflex, what's your do you change the strategy much at all?
No, Dan said everything pretty much, right on with that. It's two, Superflex is like two drafts in one, the quarterback draft and everybody else. So, sprinkling in quarterback everywhere else, if you're still, taking a quarterback or taking, wide receivers, it's just less spots being able to be taken with wide receivers. So I'm able to get more wide receivers, and then, running backs tend to fall. So I'll take that. And then maybe you add tight end premium to that, and it gives it even more emphasis that you can get those wide receivers. So, with Superflex, I don't think it really changes much, as it actually benefits zero RB even more.
Yeah, I wholly agree. I mean, yeah, you obviously got to get your quarterback. You obviously got to get a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, or else you're going to be there can be some problems. But yeah, when it comes to dynasty, how about you, Kevin? Are you even more emboldened when it comes to I hear that going on. Yes.
Dynasty is a feast. Let me say, just because I am very much if I'm in Dynasty, if I'm doing a startup draft, I am not taking a running back. I'm not rostering good running backs on my team until I'm ready to compete. So, I'll kind of take that, where I will wait till like the double digit rounds, and then maybe not even then. Like, I will just, because the thing about startups, is the veteran running backs fall way farther than they probably should, because people are just so, I, in my Twitter handle or Twitter bio, I'm a noted ageist, but even I will see like a Jeff Wilson or, older running backs out there that shouldn't be out there. And I will happily take them being able to kind of just buoy everything. And if I have like, a Jefferson, and then you can take like a Garrett Wilson or something like that, if I can like trade and get a bunch of picks maybe in the first round and then kind of skip the middle rounds, I mean, I'll just develop a super team of wide receivers there, especially if it's like, because the dynasty league that I run is positionless. So yeah, so that's where it really
That's
gets
sexy.
fun.
Oh yes.
Yeah, in the league where I have like Waddle, Chase, AJ Brown, Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, like Kyle Pitts. That's a fun league, but yeah. So I think my best running back on the
so they're
all flexes and a super flex.
Oh, I love it. I
Yep.
love it. I'm actually one of my leagues. I'm changing it to like one running back and everything else is a flex with a super flex.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's great. And I think my probably like on ADP, I think my best running back is Jerick McKinnon right now. So I mean, and I ended up drafting a bunch of like Kendry Millers and trying to draft rookie running backs to hopefully that they can be kind of the anchors of the team. But we know where the firepower is. But yeah, Dynasty gives you carte blanche to like do whatever you want. And if you don't value running backs until you're ready to compete, then you have a blank canvas to just draft as many as you want.
How about you, Dan? Dynasty, are you also?
So in Dynasty, running backs don't exist for me at all.
Love it.
Again, Kevin made some excellent points. But just to add to that, it's really also about, when you think about Dynasty, it's also about longevity. Do you want, perfect example is someone like Mike Evans, who is going to get you 200 plus points for 10 years, right? So why wouldn't you take a guy like that over, maybe another running back or another position like running back, where even the elite guys, with the exception of Derrick Henry, who's we all know is an anomaly, they're going to get you elite production, 300-point production for maybe 3 seasons at most. That's if they stay healthy. So I would much rather have 5, 6 guys that are going to get me those 200 plus points a year for 5, 6, 7 years, and then worry about filling out the rest in those subsequent years. So I could grab running back in the first, second, third round of a rookie that'll produce enough for what I need. But I'm definitely going for guys in Dynasty that are going to be on my team for a while. They're going to score points for a while, and they're going to stay healthy for a while. So that's why I go receiver, any other position but running back in Dynasty.
No, I hear you. Did either of you have the 101 in a rookie draft this year?
Oh, my picks are long gone.
So
I do not keep picks at all. I trade them.
Had you had the 101, would you have just traded it and
yes,
to the highest bidder for Bijan and let him get Bijan? So no,
if I had it, I probably would have taken Bijan. But I mean, to pair him with, like, if I had just firepower wide receiver, I mean, that pretty much is your window to just run off championships. So you got to kind of lean into it. But yeah, my picks have been long gone since 2020, I think.
Love it. So yeah, not much college scouting for you necessary for you, right?
The season starts after the draft.
So Dan, once you take your first running back, are you just hammer, and like using the example last week, 8th round, are you just hammering it to grab the pieces that 3-4 pieces to cobble together those 2 spots?
Yeah, after I get all 7 or however many receivers I need and fill out the rest of my spots, I'm just going to start throwing as many darts as I can, 5, 6, 7 darts at whatever running backs are left, whether they're rookies or guys that have some PPR potential, or guys that are behind guys that are injured, or perfect example is someone like Jarrett McKinnon, who basically almost went undrafted last year, but ended up towards the end of the year really showing out in the fantasy playoffs, or taking a chance on those guys, rookies like Damian Pierce who end up winning the job. Rashad White. I'm just gonna, take as many shots as I can and hope that one or two hit, because if they do, with the wide receivers I keep on keeping, I have a great chance of probably winning that league.
No, awesome. So, when it comes to, Kevin, I'm gonna this one. Are there any running backs you're targeting most in your drafts?
I think it really depends, and it'll kind of dovetail into the previous question too about what types of running backs you're drafting, because it's really build dependent. So if I do take one earlier, I mean I have a little more safety to be able to wait a little bit longer on running back. Like if I do take maybe a Cam Akers in like the 6th round, I feel like I can wait a little bit more because I know that's going to be my modified anchor, so to speak, but still kind of still qualifies as 0 RB. But I did a piece on Fantasy Alarm last month, which I am going to be updating very soon here for the current ADP about the types of running backs that you draft. So I sorted it I call it cards: contingent, ambiguous, receiving, and standalone, as running backs that if I need, if I haven't taken any running back yet, and I start in like the 8th or 9th round, I want someone that I know is going to have early season upside that can maybe bridge the gap to guys later on in the season that have late season upside. So perfect example. I would say this is actually pre Javonte Williams news, but it would have been Samaje Perine, like that profile of running back where you're going to get production out of him early season. You can kind of throw like a Damian Harris in that too. And then, maybe you pair him with somebody like Zach Charbonnet, or, even like Jalen Warren or Kendry Miller, depending on what happens with Alvin Kamara. But it's not even just taking running backs that you like. For me, it's running backs with a purpose that can fulfill a role for me on my team. So I want to be able to have, you can still take a Jerick McKinnon, he's going to be involved in the offense throughout the season, but I want to be able to hit on those later season upside picks. Like maybe a Roshan Johnson takes over the Bears backfield.
Yeah.
Maybe something happens with Nick Chubb and I have Jerome Ford, or, maybe Devon A-Chain isn't the guy, that they want him to be. And Raheem Mostert, who his skill set is kind of duplicative of, you're getting him in the RB 50s. So that's a guy that would fall, and you can be able to start him, which we did that last year. Same with Jeff Wilson, where if the Dolphins throw a bomb to Tyreek Hill and it's either pass interference or if he's tackled at the 1, who's getting that goal line carry? It's not Tua, it's not A-Chain, it's not Mostert, it's Jeff Wilson. So his role is pretty clearly defined. And then you talk about some of the ambiguous running back, roles. Miami certainly fits the bill with that. So does Chicago, even Philadelphia, where now we're starting to get more prob on Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift. Like, how's that going to shake out? You still have Gainwell there too, Boston Scott, who could kind of muddy the waters. So being able to kind of sort out what you need with your running back room, I would say is as important as the player selection itself.
No, and you know what? I hear you on Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert. They feel like they're on sale, and I'm getting them way late in underdog drafts, and I'm just like, yeah, I mean, they're gonna have a role. It's gonna be, and they're gonna have weeks where they go off. So yeah, I mean, Dan, did you want to add anything to that one? What running backs you're targeting?
Something real quick, just to show what I had. Just to see how Kevin ruined my entire point. These are the running backs I was going to talk about. So I didn't talk about anything. So I'm good.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. Next question. No, you're good. You're fine. You just think too much alike. That's the problem.
That's what happens when you dabble in the dark arts. So you end up getting that mind meld and everything like that. The Voldemort. For a redraft roster. Dan, is there a certain number of running backs that you want to draft for a redraft roster? Let's say you're 15 or 16 rounds.
Yeah, probably around I'd say 5.
5.
Like 2, 2 start. I think 5's maybe 5, 6. With the way my roster would be constructed, I think that's a good number of dart throws where I could probably conjure up the two I need to go into those two running back spots if it's like I guess like a default roster setting. So somewhere around like the 5-6 range. I wouldn't go more than that though.
How about you, Kev?
Yeah, I'm about the same too because I want my two starters. I want to have some options on the bench, but I also want to prioritize having a churn spot too because I want to be able to churn the waiver wire
Oh,
and being able to kind of rotate guys in and out and have as many opportunities to find someone that comes off the bench. And even if it's at a position of need, I can still that's not running back. I can still be able to hit on guys later like a Chigakonkwo or whatever the case may be. But being able to prioritize it, having a spot at the end of the roster that's fluid, along with having a few running backs that have the contingent value. Like I love Jalen Warren this year. I do think he's going to be able to get more of a standalone role because I've never really been a Najee Harris guy. I think he's like David Montgomery light. I know that he's been hurt the last year or so, and then they added pieces on the offensive line. But I do think Jalen Warren's just massive efficiency last season opens him up for even more of a role this year. And I don't think that they're going to be able to run Najee Harris 300 carries when Jalen Warren is sitting there, being efficient in that offense. So I think they're going to be a more all hands on deck where how many times have they tried to push Benny Snell on us the last, 4 or 5 years? Like now they actually have somebody that deserves getting those carries.
Yeah, I look at him and I think he's going to get some. I think he is going to get some passing game work. But I mean, the thing is, Tomlin likes to have his guy
He's
and just
stubborn.
feed him. Yeah, so that's why I've been grabbing Najee a lot.
Like I don't mind that. The value, I guess, if that's the profile for like a third round, maybe even the fourth round,
Yes.
like we were talking about, where that profile in previous years goes at the 1-2 turn. Now we're getting that at the third round, almost into the fourth round. So that's where you have to separate out the ADP, knowing the landscape, and you don't have to take those guys and reach up for them. Where you can get these guys at a value now, when you couldn't get that profile where you got them in years past.
Oh man, Dan, how about you?
Can you repeat the question?
Talking about just a part of the strategy that maybe we've missed out on, that maybe we haven't hit on.
I mean, I think something that we did hit on a little bit earlier, but something I want to kind of reinforce is to be fluid. It's awesome. Like it was mentioned before, it's a tool in the toolbox. If values are falling where you're getting good value at running back, then take them, and then just kind of roll with what's there. But it's just a fun thing to do. Everyone should try. Don't be so scared. It's in the boogeyman like it was a couple of years ago. It's actually a really fun way to try to build a roster. So I encourage everyone to give it a try.
I do like some of the oohs and ahs that people give you, or it's like, are you ever going to take a running back? Are you ever going to?
No,
I think
no,
I think it's awesome. I think it's totally awesome. I think one of the things that I want to know what you guys think on this. That the kind of like the tenets you got of zero RB, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable with your running back room. Is that kind of, Kevin? You're nodding right off the bat.
Yeah, 100%. You have to have conviction in knowing that. I mean, I draft every single team I draft. I'm going to draft like I'm right. I'm going to draft like knowing that there's always going to be chaos in the NFL season, no matter what happens. It's a week to week league. It's not, it's an 18-week season, but it's really week to week. They're all different weeks with different textures, and you can kind of parlay that into like DFS too, where it's just a completely different landscape each week of the season. So knowing that, chaos is not just going to affect running backs. It's going to affect quarterbacks. It's going to affect how you think. It's going to affect, the tight ends you draft. It's going to affect the wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, et cetera, et cetera. And just being able to lean into the chaos. And that's what makes zero RB really fun to be able to employ and be successful with, because leaning into the chaos with not having to take multiple running backs to the top makes your roster pretty fragile, making it anti-fragile, as Sean Siegel wrote in his article in RotoViz in 2013, which is, I would say, it's the best article ever written in fantasy, is his article about zero RB and anti-fragility in 2013. So it's flying in the face of fragility in the roster. That's zero RB in a nutshell.
Love it. How about you, Dan?
It reminds me kind of that Bane quote from Batman of like merely adopting the dark. Like everyone that isn't zero RB like merely adopted the chaos. To Kevin's point, like we were born in the chaos. We were molded by it. We love it. It's uncomfortable. Comfortable being uncomfortable. Like uncomfortable is where we live. So it's much better for us when the chaos comes, because it always does in every draft, especially in Scott Fishbowl or any draft like that, where you just have to roll with what's given to you, and just have fun with it. And that's really what I think zero RB is really about. Whereas there's a conventional way to do things, and sometimes it doesn't work out the way you plan it, and just being able to do something else and still have fun with it.
No, I hear you. Now, the other thing about the uncomfortable, something that just came to me right now. Are you using up your fab pretty quickly in the early weeks of the season?
I think it's dependent on what's out there. Like I know a few years ago there was like thinking about just randomly, like DJ Chark comes to mind as far as a guy that was like a top 15 wide receiver that was out there, but you really don't see a lot of like big like guys. You usually do see them the first few weeks too. So I mean, I'll be judicious with it, but the way my roster is, at least in Scott Fishbowl, where I have obviously that 100 fab, I'm going to see what happens with the quarterback position more than anything else, because I have more running backs that I've had typically in the past, so I don't have to churn there. Tight ends, I think I'm fine there. Wide receivers, I'm good. So it's really quarterback that I'm planning on using it. So I think I'm going to save it. In other leagues, I'm going to take some flyers. I want to try to get running back, churns as cheaply as I can. And maybe spending, if we're doing 100 fab, like maybe spending $2-3 on, and kind of being a week ahead on guys, because I do on Fantasy Alarm during the season, I do target report, which profiles route percentages, snap percentages, pretty much every single metric under the sun for wide receivers at Fantasy Alarm each week for the NFL season. So being able to kind of use that information to be able to see who is trending with either routes or percentage of run snaps in the team's offense is invaluable to being ahead of the game when you're trying to find the next big running back that's coming up.
Oh yeah. How about you, Dan? Are you ready to burn through the fab if an Elijah Mitchell 2021 pops up in the week one?
I think it really depends on what your roster construction is and what's like available. But like in that Elijah Mitchell example, I mean, I'd probably take a shot at him. I don't think, for me personally, using all your fab on one person, it's like a slam dunk, is wise, because if I think it's a slam dunk, then everyone else, obviously, is probably knows as well. So everyone's going to spend all their fab in one place. But going back to like roster churn, like Kevin said, if I could, spend $0, $1, or $2, on some guys that looking ahead might be something, weeks 6, 7, 8, I'll do that instead. Leave, the big money chasing to other people, because I think that's something that we also didn't talk about to answer that question. Is always try to guess 1 week behind or ahead of where the next big thing is going to drop. If you can get that and get if you can get Elijah Mitchell a week before he is Elijah Mitchell, then that's really going to help you in any league. So that's definitely a tip that people should take under. And Kevin made a great point there that should take under advisement as well. But to answer your question, no, I don't expect to dump all my fab in the first week or so, unless there's a slam dunk guy out there, then I may take a shot on him.
Yeah, especially if it's like in a league that doesn't offer zero fab. That's kind of tough.
Don't spend $827 on Elijah Mitchell. I didn't even get him in that league. It was an FFPC main event, and I didn't get him in that league. I bid like 780, and I still didn't get him. So
wow, that's
they're crazy.
amazing.
They are crazy on Wednesday nights in those fab when the fab rolls.
Oh man, there's got to be a lot of tequilas that gets drank on.
There's
on
not
those
enough
nights.
tequila for me
Yeah.
to even try to fathom that.
All right. So, any last bits of advice for to that we haven't covered that maybe I haven't asked about?
Try it at auction. Worked for me. I won the belt last year in the Kings Classic. Taking a lot of wide receivers and taking some running backs. There's the belt right there.
There it is. The proof.
Yes.
The proof is in the pudding.
I was in that draft and I grabbed Jonathan Taylor for $52. So
I spent no more than $29 on a player and ended up with ETN, Dobbins, I got a Burrow, Kelsey. Oh man. AJ Brown, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, somebody else I can't remember, but I stayed healthy. That's I won thanks to a stat correction actually with Jacoby Myers, but that championship game, which obviously the DeMar Hamlin stuff happened and that kind of put a wrench in everything, but I had to sweat Fantasy Mojo and Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey, and Devontae Adams all going in that game, that ping pong game at the late game. That was the most I've ever sweated any final in my entire time playing fantasy.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's awesome. All right. So one last, a fun one. Is there anywhere that you're contrarian like you are like zero RB? Any other part of your life where you're a contrarian in a similar fashion?
It's a good question. I'm trying to think.
That's a good question. Probably movies for me.
Ooh.
Like I haven't seen like the if I give you a list of the movies I haven't seen, you'd be like, what in the hell is wrong with you? Why haven't you seen those things? Like classical movies, like I haven't seen any of the Godfathers.
I was gonna go there.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them.
I could do that too. I've never seen any Indiana Jones movie. I've never seen any Back to the Future. I don't like Star Wars.
Oh wow. Okay.
I like the music, and that's I guess where I'm contrarian is music, because I'm a music theory guy. I did a lot of that in high school, and in other schooling. But I could sit and listen to like Gustav Holst's Planets Suite for hours upon hours and classical music, and that's fine with me. And then I'll throw on like Taylor Swift.
That's probably something I also agree with Kevin on. Contrarian is I probably prefer instrumental music over lyrics. Like I find that much more appealing when it comes to music choices.
I'll tell you, you know what? That's one thing I can write or edit using with instrumental. I cannot do that if there's words. So I will even put like Beatles music, instrumental Beatles music, or instrumental Springsteen, and just with just the words taken off, and I'm able to concentrate. So I hear you, but please give Godfather a chance, Dan, and Kev,
just for you,
Kev.
I'm sheltered. I lived a lonely suburban life as an only child, Jorge. So.
Well, Back to the Future, though, come on. There's nothing wrong with that one. There's
nothing wrong with it. I just haven't seen it, so I couldn't tell you one way or another.
Okay, well, you only, if you want to do one, do that one. It's one of the best movies of that decade. So
for you, I will. You tell me to jump off a bridge, I'll say when. Give me time.
Well, hey, where are we finding good tacos in Canton?
To the Google machine, because I have no idea, but I'm sure somewhere good.
Somewhere there, yeah. We got to find. I saw one place, and it just did not look appetizing. So hopefully, we're able to find something, and it'll have to be after a few beverages have been imbibed. Yes, mis amigos.
We'll crowdsource this. We'll find it.
We'll find it. Oh, mis amigos. Well, hey, feel free. Pump anything you got. Anything you got coming up. Who wants to? I'll throw it out. Who wants to go first? Dan, you want anything you want to pump?
I got nothing coming up. So I mean, this is all Ken.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at KTompkinsII, Lightning Round podcast with myself and Britt Flynn and Andrew Cooper. We just had Pat Carrain on doing our wide receiver preview on Tuesday, so go on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube, check that out. Next week, we're doing tight ends with Pat Fitzmaurice. So that should be a lot of fun as well. We're also doing our Pros vs. Joes draft on Monday night as well, at, I believe, 9 Eastern. JJ Zacharyson, Pat Carrain, Jared Smola, a lot of heavy hitters in that draft. So that'll be a lot of fun. First year in Fantasy Mojo's Pro vs. Joes. So very excited for that.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, Dan, you got me into kind of like a
I did rope you into one.
Yeah, that's all right. I could burn $20 every once in a while and make other people feel good, make some fans feel good. Well, oh man, well, yeah, Familia, definitely you're following. Make sure you're following mis amigos. You're following me at Jorge Martin 17. Keep an eye out. This was a big. Just a little humble brag. I hope I'm not being too unhumbled. Having my first couple articles published on Yahoo was pretty
awesome.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
This
Congrats,
week.
Man.
That was phenomenal.
You deserve it.
Thank you.
That. All right.
Thank you. Now that was fantastic. I got love from all over the place, and it felt amazing. So everybody, thank you. It's gonna be there's gonna be a weekly feature with a couple other things, like the little debate I had with Dan Titus about elite quarterback versus waiting on quarterback. So I took the elite the elite side of the argument. So it was good. I played on the fact that he's a Philly fan, he's a Eagles fan, and I said, well, you're passing on your guys. So if you do that,
it's low. It's a low blow.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
Blow.
It's all in love. So, Familia, muchas gracias to our invitados. Muchas gracias. I'm so grateful. Thank you all. Scampers, Alberto, everybody who chimed in. Dame, thank you. Muchas gracias for joining us. I'm Jorge Martin 17 on Twitter. You've got at Kevin at K Tompkins II. Dan at Dan Turner FF. So make sure you're following them. Also, one last time, make sure you're following us on Familia FFB on YouTube. Get that like and subscribe. Go back if you haven't watched them. Go back and watch those NFL Insider series. I've got 28 completed, 4 more to go. So one more. So keep an eye out for them. And one last time, underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code Familia23. You're going to get matched up to the first $100. So and get just draft. Kevin was telling me how many you got going on right now? About 15.
Probably about 25 now. That I'm on the clock for. Probably 75 to 80 altogether right now that are going.
Fantastic. Well, Familia, this has been awesome. I love talking zero RB and fantastic. So otra vez, muchas gracias to our invitados. Muchas gracias to you for joining us. And remember, todos somos familia. Salud.